Today is Thursday, June 21st, and I'm your host, Paula Hersey. On today's show, we get a glimpse of what's on the Town Council agenda tonight, and we do another deep dive on a variety of topics with the Town Manager. First, a look at today's weather. Clouds and maybe a sprinkle or shower early on, otherwise turning partly to mostly sunny, highs in the lower 70s. Happy summer solstice. Let's start with some news you can use. Before the summer season gets too busy, DPW will be sprucing up some streets with a fresh coat of paint. They will be repainting the road marking, crosswalks, stop bars, etc. on Main Street Hyannis and Main Street Barnstable Village beginning Tuesday night, June 26th at 11 p.m. and ending Friday, 5 a.m., June 29th, weather permitting. DPW will also be repainting the white edge lines and yellow center lines on all town main roads that have yellow and white lines, beginning tonight at 10 p.m. and ending Friday, June 29th at 5 a.m., every overnight, weather permitting. The public is encouraged to stay off the freshly painted lines. The lines will take approximately 15 minutes to set up enough to cross over. You have questions? Contact Michael Perry, Highway Supervisor, 508-790-6330. Town Council President Eric Steinhilber took some time out with us to outline what's on the Town Council agenda tonight. It's Thursday and Town Council this evening. On the phone with me is Eric Steinhilber, President of the Town Council. Eric, how are you today?
Good, how are you?
I'm well. So a lighter agenda this evening than weeks past as we've gotten through the budget process. Why don't you wrap up the budget for us and tell us what else is on the agenda?
Sure. Yeah, we did finish up the budget last meeting. So this is our last meeting of this fiscal year. Tonight, fiscal year ends on June 30th. So, much lighter agenda than we've seen in previous meetings leading up to the completion of the capital and the operational budget. So tonight, we have a couple presentations. One will be from the town manager and the staff about the comprehensive field study, which has been going on for some time, and it's been recently wrapped up, just looking at different fields around municipal and school fields around town. So we'll have an update on that. And we also will have a presentation on the National Guard Armory, which is across the street from Town Hall on South Street. We have received some state money on that so that we can repurpose that, prepare it for possible municipal use or another use, but we're actively looking at doing something on that property. So this will be kind of an update on those efforts. And that'll kick off our night with those two presentations. And then the rest of the meeting, we have appointments and reappointments to boards. We have a police department grant, which we'll be accepting, we're looking at to accept for it's a mental health grant from the state. One big large allocation we have is a little over $4 million for the Mar well field, which is located near the airport off of Route 28, and that is to install water filtration systems on that site. And we'll be taking that up. We also have a couple items that we'll be referring to a public hearing at our July meeting. One of those involves the field where the Harbor Hawks play. That needs some work and some upgrading. So we'll be referring that to a public hearing in July. And that's a request that's coming through the Community Preservation Committee. And so we'll be referring that to the July meeting. And then we're also taking up review of some boards and some committees going on for the past few months. The Appointments Committee has been looking at all of our committees within our volunteer committees. We have 43 of them that encompass probably close to 300 volunteers. And we wanted to just look at them to make sure that we didn't have redundancies, to streamline and make certain committees more efficient, maybe reduce membership if they're having problems with quorum, But just kind of taking a educated look at all these committees, getting input from town management staff, from legal, from council observation, and so we have some recommendations that have come from the appointments committee. We'll be taking those up tonight to dissolve some committees, and the function of these committees will not be going away, but basically will be rolled into either another committee or like the personnel board that's being recommended to really fall under the HR department, which when the personnel board was first created, you didn't have the kind of robust HR department that you do now. So again, that's more of a redundancy type thing. But we'll take those up tonight, and this will be an ongoing process. I would expect that there'll probably be more recommendations over the summer on other boards and committees as we go forward.
So, Eric, can you give us a little indication of how important are boards and committees? We want to make sure that our residents do understand that they're a terribly important function to the town. But this is more of, looking at, are these boards being filled, for one thing. There's been several boards that just don't have any members at all because the residents have not been appointed and or actually put an application in for some of these committees.
Yeah, there are some that are not full due to lack of interest or other factors, I suppose. But they are important. They're all advisory to the council and to the town manager. They don't have any, policy authority or budget authority, but they're advisory. We do appreciate everyone's time that goes into the boards. And like I mentioned, we've got up to 43 committees. That's not counting council subcommittees.
Wow.
So it does become a bit unruly after a while because you have to have someone taking minutes. So it's hours and hours of staff time, of administrator time. You need to make sure these meetings are posted correctly and the open meeting law is being adhered to. Minutes are being, taken, written, posted. So we really want to just take a comprehensive look at it and make sure that, any opportunity to eliminate redundancy or streamline and make the process more efficient and more impactful, that we should look at these recommendations and take them up as a council. So I think the fact that some committees are being recommended to be dissolved, I think some people have taken that we're getting rid of the function, but that's not accurate. The function is just going to roll into another committee or a council subcommittee where that type of work's already being done, because we really just don't want to duplicate efforts when it takes up not only volunteer time, but staff time and council time, and we just want to have a more impactful committee structure.
Excellent. Well, thank you for that explanation, and we wish you well at the end of your fiscal year. I know budget season seemed to go on forever, but take a deep breath, and we'll see you in July.
Yeah, we'll meet once in July and once in August, so we'll look forward to talking to you then.
Excellent. Thank you.
All right. Take care.
Bye-bye now.
Bye.
Town Manager Mark Ells joined us in studio for an informative chat on citizen committee participation, a field study, and his favorite day of the year, this Friday. We welcome Town Manager Mark Ells to the show today. It is about committees, it's about ball fields, and it's about beaches.
Okay. Why not?
Why not? So this is part of our weekly deep dive that we do with you, and we get a little bit deeper into issues and different things that are happening in the town of Barnstable. Let's start with how to engage the citizens here. Committees. Committees, councils, boards, commissions,
Yes.
There's lots of different names for them, but they all have one purpose, is to help the town.
Absolutely.
How do
engage our public in the various efforts that we have out there? Well, there's different types of committees, boards, and commissions. Some of them have authority delegated to them by the state, like health and conservation and certainly planning and zoning board of appeals, and others are advisory to the town council. Others are advisory to the town manager. Others play regional or state or beyond roles in our local government. I mean, we have over 40 committees, boards, and commissions. We have just under 300 sitting members, so certainly it is a big part of doing business as a local government, and we couldn't do what we do without our boards, commissions, and committees. And so how do we engage our public in it? Well, you know, many people who grew up here remember selectmen and town meeting, and so certainly there was an opportunity there to be engaged. There still is with our current form of government in town council. At the highest level of our legislative body is our town council here in town. So any member of the public can run for a seat on that and certainly serve there. We try to engage our public in other boards and commissions and committees. One of the wonderful things that was done many years ago was to create a Citizens Academy, where we allow the resident who may not know as much as they want to about their local government and who they are and how they function, the opportunity to do that here in a course that we offer, typically in the spring and the fall. And many people who choose to serve after that, council right down through to certainly even staff at times, and certainly all the boards and commissions and committees utilize that as kind of an educational opportunity. I'm out there talking, as many managers have prior to me, and letting our public know that we can't do our jobs as well without their involvement. So you know, I guess that's the origins of how it happens. I kind of have a call to action for our youth. I
was
don't
just
see
gonna
enough
say that.
of our youth
Right.
and involved, yet when I speak with them, which I have the opportunity to do quite a bit with 6 children here in town, they'll always say to me that nobody's asking them. And so we got to make sure I know our rec department, I know our school department, I know our town council, I know others try to engage our youth in the process. But, you know, now as town manager, when they say that to me, it's not like the guy who lives over on Crable Beach Road, which I am most of the times. The other time I'm here. And when they say that to me, I have to take it seriously, and I have to say, okay, we need to do a better job in getting our youth involved. Our seniors have been such an active part of our community, as our adult community, but certainly I hear this regularly from our youth. So.
Right, and when we talk about youth, we also talk about that young professional too. So, you know, part of what we see sometimes with committees and boards is the time constraint. But a lot of these only meet once a month, and some of their duties and responsibilities are not heavy lifting.
True. I think, though, that, for example, the Youth Commission, when you play sports, you know, trying to do practices and games and participate it's a little more rigorous on the Youth Commission, can be a balance of a person's time. So we've worked, I know that, I say we, but really Patty Machado and Jen Cullum and others who have been very active in our Youth Commission recognized that, and they looked to shift the hours so that they could accommodate anyone who wanted to participate. And then we listened to the people that we asked to serve on these boards. They're volunteer, so certainly you know, that's appreciated, but also their input. We listen to what they say, and we try to modify so that more people will want to participate. So yeah, that's what we try to do as far as the Youth Commission goes. And you know, it isn't a heavy lift sometimes. On the other hand, it's somebody making a decision to dedicate some portion of their free time to an effort, and that's commendable, whether it's, you know, a day a year or whether it's weekly meetings, which some of them are. So you know, we want to be appreciative of that time and respectful of it.
So there's a couple of other things that we're going to touch upon today. One is our baseball fields and our fields. There's a common, I don't want to say misconception, but a common thought that the fields out there don't all belong to Barnstable, or some of the baseball fields that Cape Cod Baseball League plays on. We maintain those, and we hopefully our residents understand that the town of Barnstable is partly responsible for those. When we look at all the fields in Barnstable, do you know how many there are?
No, I'd have to go back.
Isn't that-
I'd have to go back and get a total number.
Right.
Certainly, the field studies we've just done would tell me total number of fields.
Right.
Tens, not hundreds. 40 plus sticks in my mind, but
That's a lot.
That's off the top of my head. But right now we have them laid out in a spreadsheet. We also have information on the condition of those fields. Who's the primary user of the fields? Who maintains the fields? To what level we maintain the fields? And we've just gone through an exercise we brought in a consultant to assist DPW and our rec department and our school department and my office to put all this information together, to look at the level of play we want to have on these various fields, whether it's our Division I baseball team at the high school, or it is a sixth grade lacrosse team that's playing over at BIS, or whatever that level of play is. So we want to understand where our facilities are, how they're being utilized, to what level they need to be maintained to be safe and functional. And then we need to make sure that if we are going to continue to use those as we hope to program them, that we need to invest in them both with a capital program and with a operation and maintenance program so that they're safe and functional. And that's really what this exercise has been. One of the sources of funding has been the CPC, which is a funding source available really for three primary areas: open space purchase, historic, and housing. And I believe within the open space there's recreational, so therefore playing fields would be one of those categories that would be eligible. And what the CPC said to us is, without this sort of a study, how can we know what the priority is? And how can we know how much we should be investing from a capital standpoint when the community comes in and asks for money? So we've done this study, and we've shared it with the CPC. It'll be shared this Thursday night with the town council.
Okay.
And then it'll ultimately be put online in a final version. And it becomes a master plan for us, not to follow verbatim necessarily, but for us to measure ourselves against as we progress. And you'll see many of the efforts that you've either seen in recent years or have seen in this capital program. I mean, we've had this in the works for a while, so it really gives us, whether it's the playing fields at the high school, whether it's the Lombard Field, Lopes Field, the Harbor Hawks Field, all of them are in this plan. These are all town properties. A lot of people don't realize that. The Kettleers Field, the Harbor Hawks, they think, oh, well, that's a minor league baseball team.
Right.
It's town fields, and we have users on those fields. And so we have relationships with the various parties that utilize these. And sometimes they're all our programs, and sometimes they're mostly the other party's programs, depending on what that relationship is.
Right.
So a bottom line, though, is anything that's town-owned property, we want to make sure we have the proper capital investment and operating budget in place so that it can be safe and functional.
Right.
And so that's what this is all about.
Yeah, and a lot of those fields, depending on use, takes more maintenance and more capital expenditure. The 6-year-old soccer teams in Marston's Mills fields, maybe they don't use the fields and they're not that hard on the fields, but some of these the footballs and some of these other types of sports can be pretty hard on these fields.
Oh, absolutely, and it all comes down to how many hours you're playing and what you're playing and how you're rotating that play, and how you're maintaining it. Everything from what your underlying soil conditions and drainage to, does it have irrigation, and it just goes on and on. It has to be professionally managed, especially when we jump to how competitive, for example, education is now. The sports are now for so many of us and our children, and if we don't have facilities that stack up to the competition, then people are going to choose the competition. Right. So we have to make sure, whether it's education, whether it's sports, no matter whether it's extracurriculars, you know, we've got to make our decision how we're going to position ourselves in the market, and then we've got to make sure that we properly invest those resources we have to get us to those outcomes where we want to be.
Right. And talking about the market, we have a market on beaches here in Barnstable.
We do.
And this weekend,
We do. It opens. Opening day, Saturday.
unbelievable.
They've been open on the weekends for several weeks now, but this is the 7-day a week.
Yeah.
You know, it's done at this point, the 23rd. So yes, they'll be manned, and should probably take a look if you like going to ponds. I know that I've said this before, but I know that Joshua's and Hamblin's and Hathaway's, the water is
There's no
extremely
beachfront
high. The groundwater everywhere is at record high levels, and
Yeah.
so if you go down to Joshua's now, there isn't even any beach; it's all underwater.
Yeah,
So
the Hamblin's
people,
is the same way.
You know, should be informed of that because you know, you're not certainly unless you know it's in front of me, so I think about it.
Right.
But otherwise, I wouldn't. I'd show up there if it's a beautiful day on Saturday, and
Right.
I'd say, "What's going on?
Yeah.
This isn't what I remembered." So yeah, we've got extremely high
Right.
groundwater. The pond beaches have been impacted. Our regular beaches, though, no, we're fine.
Right.
Our saltwater beaches,
Yeah,
we're good.
they're
to
all
go.
groomed and everybody's ready, so
Yeah.
make sure you got that beach sticker because
Yes.
they're manned
Oh
from
yeah, absolutely.
early
and
morning to late afternoons now.
Friday is our lifeguard orientation. That's one of my favorite days of the year.
Yeah.
So I get to speak to all of our young lifeguards. They're such a wonderful representation of our community and who we are, and they do such a wonderful job for all those who, you know, come to our facility. So
Right.
yeah, it's always an exciting day.
Fantastic. Well, here's the summer.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Mike. Here's a important community calendar event for this weekend. The Town of Barnstable's Department of Public Works is holding a hazardous material collection event this weekend. Residents looking to safely dispose of household hazardous materials can drop the items off at the Marston's Mills transfer station from 9 a.m. to noon. A town trash or recycling sticker is required to participate. The collection is free to all Barnstable residents. Town Council meets this evening at Town Hall in the hearing room, second floor at 7 p.m. I'm Paula Hersey, and thank you for watching Barnstable Today.